Jason Merrill stood on the observation deck of Titan Station, looking out at the rings of Saturn. The view was always amazing, even after all these years. He had worked here for over 5 years as an engineer, fixing machines, checking fuel lines, and making sure everything ran smoothly. But tonight felt different. He wasn't alone. Beside him stood Emma Rogers, a field medic who had been transferred to the station 2 weeks ago. She looked tired, her eyes red from lack of sleep. Jason didn't blame her. The last few days had been rough. "I heard something," she said quietly, not taking her eyes off the stars. "About the new project." Jason raised an eyebrow. "What kind of project?" She glanced at him. "The one they don't talk about, the one behind locked doors." Jason nodded slowly. He knew what she meant. Everyone on Titan Station knew there were parts of the station that were off limits. Rooms guarded by armed soldiers, labs with no windows, and rumors always followed. Some said the Union had found alien tech. Others whispered about weapons. Some believed it was nothing more than a new energy source. But Jason knew better. 3 days ago, he had been called down to level 7 to fix a power relay. While working, he had seen something strange. A glowing crystal inside a glass chamber. It pulsed like a heartbeat. Around it, scientists in white suits moved quickly, talking in low voices. One of them saw him looking. "Get back to work, Merrill," the scientist had snapped. Jason obeyed, but not before catching a glimpse of the label on the door. Project. Just now, standing next to Emma, he realized she might know more than he did. "What did you hear?" he asked. She took a deep breath. "I was helping a patient in the med bay. One of the engineers from level 7. He was burned. Badly. Not from fire, something else. He kept saying the same thing over and over." "What?" he said. "It's alive." Jason frowned. "That doesn't make sense." Emma turned to face him fully. "Does any of this? We're on a refueling station orbiting Saturn, and suddenly we have top-secret labs and injured workers nobody talks about. Something's going on, Jason." He wanted to tell her she was imagining things, that she was tired and stressed. But, deep down, he knew she was right. They both were. Later that night, Jason sat in his quarters, staring at his tablet. He had pulled up old schematics of Titan Station, searching for anything unusual. Level 7 had never been part of the original design. It had been added 3 years ago without much notice, no official press release, no public announcement, just a new wing built in secret. He scrolled through maintenance logs. Most were routine, air filters replaced, coolant levels checked. But then he found something odd. A log dated 2 nights ago. Incident report. Level 7 lab. 2 technicians exposed to unknown energy source. Severe burns. Cardiac arrest. No survivors. Cause under investigation. All personnel ordered to remain silent. Jason closed the file. His hands were shaking. The next morning, Jason went back to work. He avoided level 7 and tried to act normal, but he couldn't stop thinking about the report. At lunch, he met Emma again in the mess hall. "You look like hell," she said, sliding into the seat across from him. "I didn't sleep," he admitted. She leaned in. "Did you find anything?" He nodded. "There was an accident, 2 people died, burned to death, but not from fire." Emma's face paled. "I knew it." "They're covering it up," Jason said. "No news reports, no funerals, just silence." Emma looked around the room. There were people everywhere, engineers, pilots, medics. None of them knew what was happening just a few floors below them. "We need to do something," she whispered. Jason shook his head. "We can't. If we say anything, they'll bury us." Emma stared at him. "You're scared? I'm smart," he replied. She didn't answer. Later that week, Jason was assigned to help with a test on level 7. He tried to refuse, but his supervisor wouldn't let him. "You're the best engineer we've got," the man said. "And it's just a simple diagnostics check." Jason didn't believe him. When he arrived, the lab was filled with scientists and military officers. At the center of the room was the crystal again. only now it was connected to a strange-looking gun. "This is the prototype," a colonel said. "It uses the crystal as a power source. We want you to run a full diagnostic." Jason stepped forward, trying to hide his fear. The crystal pulsed brighter than before. It made his skin crawl. He began running tests. The machine showed high energy output. "Too high. This isn't safe," he muttered. The colonel smirked. "Safety isn't the priority. Power is." Jason finished the test quickly and left the lab as fast as he could. But as he walked down the hallway, he heard a loud noise, a scream, then silence. He turned back, heart pounding. Down the corridor, smoke rose from the lab. People were shouting. Someone yelled, "Containment breach!" Jason ran. As he reached the end of the hallway, he saw two bodies lying on the floor, burned dead. One of them was the colonel. Jason backed away slowly. This wasn't just a weapon, it was something worse. By the end of the day, the incident was already being covered up. Emergency crews cleaned the lab. The dead were taken away. No one talked about it. Jason filed a report, but it vanished within hours. He tried to forget what he had seen, but he couldn't. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the crystal, alive, pulsing, waiting. A week later, Jason found a note in his locker. "Meet me at Dock 3, midnight. Come alone." It wasn't signed. He almost didn't go, but something told him he had to. At midnight, he walked through the empty halls of Titan Station. The lights flickered. The place felt colder than usual. Dock 3 was nearly deserted. Only one shuttle remained, small, unmarked. Standing beside it was Emma. "You came," she said. Jason nodded. "Who sent the note?" She looked nervous. "Not me, but I think I know who wants to talk to you." Before Jason could ask more, a voice spoke from the shadows. "My name is Dr. Lisa Bennett. I used to be one of them." Jason turned. An older woman stepped into the light. Her hair was gray, and her face was lined with age and worry. "I was part of Project Aegis," she said, "until I saw what they were doing." Jason swallowed hard. "What are they doing?" Dr. Bennett looked at him carefully, trying to turn something sacred into a weapon. Jason didn't understand. Emma did. "They don't know what they've found," she said softly. "And if they keep playing with it, they're going to destroy us all." Jason looked between them. He thought about the dead men, the burning flesh, the pulsing crystal. He thought about the future, and for the first time he realized this wasn't just about science. It was about survival. Jason sat across from Dr. Lisa Bennett in the dimly lit shuttle bay. The air was thick with silence, broken only by the low hum of distant machines. Emma stood nearby, arms crossed. She had seen enough to know they were in over their heads. "Doctor." Bennett looked at Jason carefully. "You saw what happened?" Jason nodded slowly. 2 men died, burned from the inside out. And that thing, he swallowed hard. That crystal, it felt like it was watching me. Bennett sighed. "It was watching you." Emma frowned. "What do you mean?" The older woman leaned forward. "That crystal isn't just energy. It's not just power. It's alive. Or something close to it." Jason shook his head. "That doesn't make sense. It's a rock." "It's not a rock," she said firmly. "It's a core. A weapon built by something ancient, something we don't understand." Emma sat down beside Jason. "Then why does the Union have it?" Bennett gave her a tired look. "Because someone gave it to them." Jason blinked. "Someone? Like who?" "The Zalari," she said. "They're an alien race we've been in contact with for years. They came to us saying they wanted peace, said they were giving us a gift, that crystal." Emma narrowed her eyes. "And you believe them?" "No," Bennett said flatly. "I don't. The Zalari are smart. They wouldn't hand over something this powerful unless they had a reason. I think they were afraid of it." Jason rubbed his temples. So we took something dangerous because someone else didn't want it anymore? Bennett nodded. Yes? Emma exhaled sharply. That's insane. Jason looked at the doctor. What happens if we keep using it? Bennett's face darkened. Bad things. Over the next few days, Jason and Emma met with Dr. Bennett in secret. She showed them files, old research logs, and hidden reports from before Project Aegis went black. She explained how the Union had started testing the crystal in secret. At first, they used it to power ships and stations, but soon, someone suggested, using it as a weapon. They thought it could be the future of war, Bennett said. A silent, unstoppable force, no recoil, no sound, just raw destruction. Jason remembered the strange gun he had seen in the lab, the way it pulsed with energy, the way it made his skin crawl. What kind of damage can it do? He asked. Bennett handed him a tablet. On the screen was footage, grainy, shaky. A test range on Mars. A target dummy stood in front of a metal wall. A shot fired. There was no bang, no flash. Just a sudden burst of light. When the camera panned back, the dummy was gone. Not just destroyed, erased. Only ash remained. The wall, behind it, was scorched clean through. Jason turned off the screen. His stomach churned. Emma looked pale. That's not a weapon. That's a death sentence. Bennett nodded. And they're building more of them. Jason clenched his fists. We have to stop this. Bennett gave him a sad smile. We already tried. That's why I'm here. Late one night, Jason found himself back in the maintenance tunnels of Titan Station. He had copied some of the files onto his personal drive, hiding them in case anything happened. He wasn't sure what he planned to do with them. Expose the truth? Warn someone? He didn't know. As he walked through the narrow corridor, he heard footsteps behind him. He froze. The lights flickered. Then a voice whispered, "You shouldn't be here." Jason spun around. A man stepped out of the shadows. Tall, dressed in a dark uniform. "Military. Who are you?" Jason demanded. The man didn't answer. He pulled out a small device, similar to the gun Jason had seen in the lab. Jason backed away. "Don't." The man raised the weapon, a flash of light. Pain. Jason collapsed. He woke up in a cold, white room. His head throbbed. His hands were tied behind his back. Across from him sat a woman in a sharp military uniform. Her hair was short, her face unreadable. "I'm Colonel Reyes," she said calmly. "You've been asking the wrong questions." Jason glared at her. "I saw what you're doing, what that thing can do." Reyes tilted her head. "You mean the prototype?" Jason spat. "You killed 2 men, burned them alive." She didn't flinch. "They knew the risks." Jason laughed bitterly. "They didn't know anything. None of us did." Reyes leaned forward. "Let me tell you something, Meryl. We live in a galaxy full of enemies, other species, old threats. If we don't prepare, we die." Jason shook his head. "This isn't preparation, this is madness." She smiled coldly. "Maybe. But it's our madness." Before Jason could respond, the door opened. Another soldier stepped in. "Sir," the soldier said, "there's a leak. Someone sent encrypted data off station." Reyes's eyes narrowed. "Who?" "We're tracing it now." Jason grinned despite himself. "Guess I'm not the only one asking questions." Reyes stood. "You'll stay here until we find out who helped you." She left. The guards stayed. Meanwhile, Emma was running. She had managed to escape Dock 3 when Jason didn't return. She knew something was wrong. When she checked her secure messages, she found a file labeled Project Aegis Internal Memo. She read it quickly. Subject: Prototype Deployment. Following successful tests, Phase 2 will begin immediately. All Level 7 personnel cleared for active deployment. First weapons to be shipped to Union Marine units within 48 hours. Emma's heart pounded. They were sending the weapons into the field. She had to warn someone. But who? She couldn't trust. The Union. She couldn't go public without proof. Then she remembered Dr. Bennett. She ran to the hidden shuttle bay. But the dock was empty. Only a single note was left behind. They found me. Get out while you still can. Tell Jason to run. Emma stared at the paper. Her hands trembled. She folded it and slipped it into her pocket. Then she turned and disappeared into the shadows. Jason spent 3 days locked in the cold room. No windows, no clock. Just silence. On. The 4th day, the door opened. Colonel Reyes stepped inside. "You're free to go," she said. Jason blinked. "What?" "We know you didn't send the files," she said. "You weren't the leak." Jason stood slowly. "Then who was?" Reyes didn't answer. She handed him a new assignment sheet. "You're being reassigned," she said. "To Europa Station." Jason frowned. "Why?" She smirked. "You ask too many questions. Maybe a change of scenery will help." Jason took the paper. He knew what this was. Exile. A warning. Stay quiet or disappear. Later that night, Jason packed his few belongings. As he closed his locker, he noticed something, a small chip taped to the inside. He pulled it out. A message blinked on the screen. "Meet me at the old mining station near Ceres. Midnight. Come alone. No name, no signature." But Jason knew who it was from. Emma. He looked around. No one was watching. He slipped the chip into his pocket. Tomorrow he would leave for Europa. But tonight he had somewhere else to be. Jason stared at the message on the small chip. His hands were steady, but his mind was racing. "Meet me at the old mining station near Ceres. Midnight. Come alone." He had read it 3 times now. Emma was alive, and she wasn't waiting for him to make up his mind. He looked around his quarters one last time. Nothing special. A few clothes, some tools, a photo of his sister back on Earth. That was all he owned. He slipped the chip into his pocket and left. The transport shuttle to Europa Station was scheduled to leave in the morning. Jason had already been cleared. His name was on the list. But he wasn't going to Europa. He was going to Ceres. He moved through the station like a ghost, quiet, watched. He knew Colonel Reyes still had eyes on him. If she caught him trying to escape, there would be no second chance. At Dock 14, he found what he was looking for. A small cargo freighter, old, unmarked, perfect. He climbed aboard. Inside, the ship smelled like oil and dust. It wasn't much, but it flew. That was all that mattered. He powered up the engine. The ship hummed to life. He checked the coordinates. Ceres. He took a deep breath, then he pushed the throttle forward. Emma waited in the shadows of the old mining station. It was dark out here, no lights, no people, just rusted metal and silence. She paced slowly, checking her watch. Midnight. She hoped Jason would come. She needed him. Behind her, the sound of engines broke the quiet. A ship landed softly on the cracked surface. The ramp opened. Jason stepped out. Emma smiled. "You came," she said. Jason nodded. "Of course I did." She walked toward him. "We don't have much time. We need to talk." He followed her inside the station. It was empty. Dust covered everything. Rusted machines lined the walls. Pipes hung from the ceiling like dead vines. Emma led him to a small room filled with old computers and data drives. "This used to be a Union mining operation," she said. "They shut it down years ago. Now it's just us." Jason looked around. "Who else is here?" "No one," she said. "But I found something. Something big." She turned on a screen. An image appeared. A star map. Red lines connected different points in space. "What am I looking at?" Jason asked. "A network," Emma said. "A hidden one, independent colonies. People who left the Union. They didn't trust them." Jason frowned. "So?" Emma pointed at one of the red dots. "This one, it's called Haven. It's where Dr. Bennett went after she disappeared. Jason's heart skipped a beat. You found her? Emma shook her head. Not exactly, but someone there does, and they know more about the crystal than anyone else. Jason sat down. What are you saying? I'm saying we're not safe here, Emma said. If we stay, the Union will find us. And if they do, we disappear. Jason thought about the men who died, the burning flesh, the cold prison cell. He nodded. Where do we go? Emma gave him a small smile. Haven. They left the next day. Jason flew the ship. Emma helped with navigation. As they traveled deeper into space away from the Union's reach, they talked about what they had seen, about what they feared, and about what they might become. We can't stop this alone, Jason said. Emma looked at him. Maybe not, but maybe we don't have to be alone. Jason raised an eyebrow. You think these independents will help us? They already are, she said. Some of them lost people to the prototypes. Others saw what the Union was doing and ran. They want to fight back. Jason sighed. I never wanted to be a fighter. Emma gave him a tired smile. None of us do, but sometimes we don't get a choice. 2 weeks later, they arrived at Haven. It was a small colony built into the side of a moon orbiting a dead planet. From the outside, it looked like nothing. Just another rock in space. Inside, it was alive. People moved through the halls. Engineers worked on ships. Children played in the common area. Jason stepped off the ship, surprised. This place, he muttered. Emma smiled. Yeah, it's real. They were greeted by a tall man with a scar across his face. Welcome to Haven, he said. I'm Ben. You must be Jason. Jason nodded. And you know about the crystal? Ben's face grew serious. We know enough. He led them through the colony down a long hallway lit by flickering lights. At the end of the hall, they entered a lab. Inside stood a woman in a worn-out lab coat, Dr. Lisa Bennett. Jason's breath caught. You're alive, he whispered. She smiled weakly. Barely. Emma stepped forward. You told me you could explain what the Union is really doing. Bennett nodded. Yes. And what they've really found. She walked over to a table covered in notes and diagrams. This crystal, she began, isn't just energy. It isn't just power. It's a key. Jason frowned. A key to what? To something ancient, she said. Something buried deep in space. The Zalari didn't give us this because they wanted peace. They gave it to us because they were afraid of what would happen if they kept it. Emma leaned closer. Afraid? Of what? Bennett looked at both of them. Of waking it up. There was silence. Jason felt a chill crawl up his spine. What happens if they use it again? He asked. Bennett's voice dropped. Then we won't just be making weapons. We'll be calling something back. Emma swallowed hard. Calling what back? Bennett looked at them both. The thing that made the crystal in the first place. Later that night, Jason sat alone in the mess hall. His head hurt. Everything he thought he knew about science, about war, about humanity. It was all wrong. He looked up when Emma sat beside him. You okay? She asked. Jason shook his head. No. I keep thinking about Titan Station, about those two men, about what they died for. Emma was quiet for a moment. They died because someone wanted power. Jason looked at her. And now that same power is in the hands of the Union. Emma nodded. And if we don't stop them, they'll wake something worse than war. Jason finished. They sat in silence. Then Ben walked in. There's a problem, he said. Jason looked up. What kind of problem? Ben's face was grim. The Union knows we're here. Emma stood. How? Ben handed her a tablet. On the screen was a report. Security breach. Data leak identified. Source, traced to Haven Colony. Immediate response ordered. Jason cursed under his breath. Emma looked at him. We have to leave. Ben nodded. Now. Outside, distant flashes lit up the sky. Ships, coming fast. Jason grabbed his jacket. "Let's go," he said. Emma followed. Together, they ran, back to the ship, back into the stars, back to the fight. The sky above Haven burned with fire. Union warships had arrived. They hovered like dark clouds, firing bursts of light that tore through the colony's outer defenses. Explosions lit up the rocky surface below. People ran. Children screamed. The ground shook with every blast. Jason and Emma sprinted across the launch pad toward their ship. Behind them, Ben shouted orders to the other Independents. They returned fire with old rail guns and scavenged lasers, but it wasn't enough. The Union had come prepared. "We have to go now," Emma yelled. Jason reached the ship first. He yanked open the ramp and climbed inside. Emma followed close, behind. Ben was last. He dove just as a shell hit the ground behind him. Dust and rock flew into the air. Jason pulled him aboard. "Punch it," Emma shouted. Jason slammed the throttle forward. The ship lifted off. Outside the viewport, the colony was falling apart. Buildings crumbled. Fires spread fast. Smoke rose into the thin atmosphere like ghosts. Emma looked at the scanner. "We're not alone." Jason followed her gaze. 3 Union dropships were closing in. "They want us," she said. Jason clenched his jaw. "Then, let them try." He pushed the engines to full speed. The ship shot forward, leaving the dying colony behind. They flew for hours. No one spoke. The silence was heavy. Finally, Ben broke it. "They'll find us again," he said quietly. Jason didn't answer. He knew it was true. Emma turned to Dr. Bennett, who sat near the back of the cabin, looking tired and pale. "What do we do now?" Emma asked. Bennett sighed. "We stop them before it's too late." Jason glanced at her. "How?" She held up a small data chip. "I copied everything from the lab, everything we know about the crystal and more." Emma leaned closer. "What else did you find?" Bennett's voice dropped. "Proof that the Union isn't just building weapons." Jason frowned. "What do you mean?" Bennett looked at both of them. "They've already used it." Silence filled the cabin. Emma's eyes widened. "Used it? How?" Bennett tapped the chip. "There's footage. A test on Mars. Not just a dummy this time." Jason felt sick. "You mean?" "A live target," she said softly. "A prisoner. One of our people." Emma's hands tightened into fists. "They killed someone?" Bennett nodded. "And worse, they sent out a signal." Jason's stomach twisted. "What kind of signal?" "The crystal," she said. "It doesn't just store energy. It sends messages. Across space." Emma stared at her. "To who?" Bennett's voice was barely a whisper. "To whatever made it." Jason looked out the window. Stars passed by in silence. But somewhere out there, something was listening. 2 days later, they reached an independent relay station orbiting Neptune. It was small, hidden, just a few ships and a single base, floating in the cold void. Inside, the room was packed with people, scientists, soldiers, engineers, and defectors from the Union. Dr. Bennett stood at the front, holding the data chip. "This is what they don't want you to see," she said. She plugged it into the main console. The screen lit up. Footage played. Mars. A man in a prison suit stood in a test chamber. He looked scared, confused. A soldier raised a crystal-powered weapon. A flash. The man was gone. Just ash. Gasps filled the room. Then the screen changed. Data scrolled. Across. Signal detected. Unknown origin. Response incoming. Bennett pointed at it. This was sent out after the test. One of the independent leaders stepped forward. His name was Commander Hayes. "You're saying the crystal called something back?" Bennett nodded. "Yes." Hayes looked around the room. "And what?" Exactly is coming? Bennett hesitated. We don't know. Hayes cursed under his breath. Then we need to shut this down, now. Jason finally spoke. How? Hayes looked at him. We hit the source. Emma caught on. You mean Earth? Hayes nodded. The Union Command Center. That's where the final testing is happening. If we destroy it, we cut the program off. At the root. Jason swallowed hard. That's a suicide mission. Hayes gave him a steady look. Sometimes stopping a war means doing something crazy. Emma looked at Jason. We can't let them keep using that thing. Jason thought about Titan Station, about the 2 men who died, about the burning flesh, the silence. He nodded slowly. Then we do it. Preparation began at once. They gathered ships, weapons, pilots. Most of them wouldn't survive, but none of them backed down. Jason and Emma worked with the engineers, checking systems, loading supplies. Late at night, they sat together in the hangar. Emma looked at him. Are you scared? Jason exhaled. Yeah, I am. She touched his hand. Me too. He looked at her. Why are we doing this? She smiled faintly. Because if we don't, no one will. Jason nodded. He knew she was right. The fleet launched at dawn. 6 ships. A mix of old Union models and scavenged Independence. They jumped through space, moving fast. Earth came into view after 3 days. It was beautiful, blue, alive. But between them and the planet stood the Union fleet. Dozens of warships, dozens of fighters, waiting. Hayes' voice came over comms. This is it. You all know your targets. Stay sharp. Good luck. Jason gripped the controls. Emma sat beside him. Ready? Jason took a deep breath. Let's end this. The battle began. Lasers lit up the blackness, missiles streaked through space. Ships exploded in silent bursts of fire. Jason dodged enemy fire, weaving through the chaos. Emma fired the turret. Got one. More enemies came. Jason spotted the command ship. Massive, armored, deadly. That's our target, he said. Emma nodded. Then let's go. They dove toward it. Shields flared. Alarms blared. They got through. Jason lined up the shot. Then, something strange happened. The crystal in the command ship pulsed. Not red, not blue. White. Blinding. All around them, the battle slowed. Enemy ships stopped firing. Union soldiers froze. Even. The Independence hesitated. Jason stared at the screen. A message appeared. Signal received. Arrival imminent. Then the stars themselves seemed to shift. Lights blinked out. Something huge was coming. Something older than anything humanity had ever known. Emma whispered, "Oh God." Jason couldn't speak, because in that moment, he understood. The Union hadn't just built a weapon, they had opened a door, and now something was walking through. The silence after the battle was worse than the noise. Jason sat in the cockpit, staring out at what remained of the Union fleet. Ships floated in pieces. Fires burned in the vacuum of space. Bodies, some in armor, some not, drifted past the way, broken hulls like ghosts. Emma sat beside him, silent. Neither of them spoke for a long time. They were alive, but barely. Back on Earth, the news spread fast. The Union had lost control of its most powerful weapon. The signal had gone out. Something unknown had answered. Panic followed. Cities locked down. Governments argued. Scientists tried to explain what no one understood. And the people? They looked to the sky, waiting, watching, afraid. Jason and Emma didn't return to Earth. They stayed with the Independence, helping where they could. Commander Hayes was dead. Killed during the final moments of the battle, so was Dr. Bennett. She had stayed behind on the command ship, buying them time to escape. Her last words were simple. Tell them the truth. The truth came out slowly. Dr. Bennett's data was shared across independent networks. It reached scientists, engineers, and even some inside the Union who still had a conscience. The footage from Mars. The test. The signal. It all proved the same thing. The crystal wasn't just dangerous. It was alive. And now, something else knew that too. Jason spent his days working on ships, fixing engines, building better defenses. He wasn't a soldier. He never wanted to be. But he knew now. He couldn't stay quiet. One night Emma found him in the hangar, covered in grease, tinkering with an old fighter. "You should sleep," she said. Jason shook his head. "Too much to do?" She leaned against the wall. "You're not the only one who feels guilty." He looked up at her. "Feels like we lost more than we won." She nodded. "Maybe we did." Jason wiped his hands on a rag. "I keep thinking about Titan Station. About those two men. We tried to stop this. And look where we are." Emma stepped closer. "We stopped worse." Jason gave her a tired smile. "Do you believe that?" She hesitated, then said, "I want to." Jason sighed. "That's good enough." The Union tried to cover everything up. They blamed the attack on rogue independents, said the crystal was unstable, called the signal a mistake. But people weren't stupid. They saw the videos, read the reports. They knew. Some cities broke away from the Union entirely, declared themselves free, independent. Others stayed afraid of what might come next. Fear made people do strange things. Sometimes it made them fight. Sometimes it made them run. Sometimes it made them lie. Months passed. Life changed. New colonies formed, some near Mars, some beyond Neptune. The independents grew stronger. They built ships, trained pilots, shared knowledge. They learned from their mistakes. They trained not just to survive, but to protect. Not just from the Union, but from whatever was coming. Jason stood on the observation deck of Haven 2, a new base hidden in the asteroid belt. Beside him, Emma watched the stars. "They're still out there," she said quietly. Jason nodded. "Yeah." She looked at him. "Do you think they'll come back?" He thought for a moment. "If they can, they will." Emma frowned. "Then what do we do?" Jason smiled faintly. "We get ready." She raised an eyebrow. "That's it?" He shook his head. "No. We also try to understand them." Emma looked surprised. "You think we can talk to whatever sent the crystal?" Jason shrugged. "Maybe. Maybe not. But if we don't try, we'll always be scared. Always fighting." Emma crossed her arms. "And if we fail?" Jason met her eyes. "Then we fight anyway." She laughed softly. "You sound like a soldier now." Jason smirked. "Guess I've been around long enough." Inside the base, the others gathered. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, pilots. They were building something new, a message, not a weapon, not a signal. Greeting. They called it the First Contact Protocol. Its goal was simple: to reach out, to learn, to show that not all of humanity was blind to power, that some of them still cared. Jason walked into the meeting room. Everyone turned to look at him. Ben, the new leader of Haven, stood at the front. "We're ready," Ben said. Jason nodded. "Then let's send it." He stepped forward. On the screen, the message played. Words, music, images, humanity reaching out to the stars. Not as conquerors, not as warriors, but as explorers, as survivors, as something more. Later that night, Jason sat alone on the edge of the docking bay. He stared at the stars, thinking, remembering, Titan Station, the accident, the fear, Earth, the battle, the cost, everything they had lost, everything they had gained. Emma joined him. She sat beside him without speaking. Finally, Jason said, "We did the right thing." Emma looked at him. "Even if they never answer." He nodded. "Even then." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "Then we keep going," she whispered. Jason smiled. Yeah, we keep going. Years passed. The stars remained silent. No answer came from the message humanity had sent into deep space, but that didn't mean no one was listening. Jason Merrill stood on the observation deck of Haven Base 2, looking out at the stars. The same stars he had stared at for years, the same stars that had once seemed so far away. Now they felt closer than ever. Beside him, Emma Rogers leaned against the railing, her eyes tired but steady. "You still think they'll come?" she asked. Jason didn't answer right away. He thought about everything they had done, everything they had lost. "I don't know," he said finally. "Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday." Emma gave a small smile. "You always were the hopeful one." Jason looked at her. "And you're not?" She shook her head. "I just try not to get caught off guard." He nodded. That made sense. They had seen too much to believe in happy endings, but they had also seen enough to know that hope wasn't wasted. Behind them, the base hummed with life. People moved through the halls, pilots trained, scientists worked. Children ran through the corridors, laughing like they hadn't a care in the world. It was strange how fast things could grow after being broken. Inside the command center, Ben sat at the main console, scanning reports. New colonies were forming, beyond Neptune. Some were close to Mars. Others were hidden in the asteroid belt. Each one was independent. Each one was learning. Ben tapped his fingers on the desk. "Still nothing?" Jason asked as he walked in. Ben shook his head. "No signal, no movement, like space forgot we exist." Emma crossed her arms. "That's not possible." "No," Ben agreed. "But it feels like it some days." Jason sat down across from him. "What do the others say?" Ben sighed. "Most think we scared them off." Said the Union opened a door and something stepped back. Jason frowned. "Or maybe it just needs time." Ben looked at him. "You really think it's coming back?" Jason didn't answer. Not because he didn't have one, but because he wasn't sure which truth would scare them more. "Yes," he said quietly. "I do." Down in the engineering bay, a new ship was being built. Not for war, not for escape, for searching. Its name was the Horizon. It was meant to go farther than any human had gone before. Its mission, find the source of the crystal. Its crew, volunteers. Emma stood near the hull, watching engineers weld the final panels. A voice behind her said, "You thinking about going?" She turned. Jason stood there, hands in his pockets. She shrugged. "Might be time." Jason raised an eyebrow. "You? On a deep space mission?" She smirked. "Why not me?" He smiled faintly. "Just seems like you'd want to stay here." Emma looked at the ship again. "This place is safe. Too safe. I need to know what's out there." Jason stepped beside her. "Then let me come with you." She glanced at him. "You serious?" He nodded. "Yeah, I've spent enough time hiding. It's time we stopped running and started understanding." Emma studied his face. Then she reached out and took his hand. "Then let's go," she said. Back in the control room, Dr. Bennett's old files were still stored in the system. Jason pulled them up one last time. Notes, diagrams, recordings. One line stood out. The crystal was never meant to be used, only understood. Jason read it over and over. Understanding was harder than destruction, but it was worth trying. He closed the file, turned to Ben. "We're ready," he said. Ben looked at him. "You sure?" Jason nodded. "As we'll ever be." Ben gave a slow nod. "Then send the launch order." Launch day came fast. The Horizon stood tall on the pad, its engines glowing softly in the dim light of the base. People gathered to watch. Some waved. Some cried. Some simply watched in silence. Jason and Emma climbed aboard. They took their seats. The countdown began. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engines roared. The ship lifted off. Stars stretched above them. And then, space. Endless, cold, quiet, but not empty. Never empty. Weeks passed. Months. The horizon traveled farther than any human ship had before. They mapped unknown systems, scanned dead worlds, followed the trail of the signal, and finally, they found it. A planet. Dark. Silent, but not abandoned. On the surface, ruins stood tall, ancient towers of metal and stone. At the heart of it all, a single structure pulsed with light like a heartbeat. Emma looked at Jason. "This is it," she whispered. Jason nodded. Yeah. They landed, stepped out, walked toward the light, and waited. Back on Earth, the message reached Haven, a single line. We are not alone. And we never were. It spread across the networks, across the colonies, across the stars. Hope, fear, wonder, all at once. And somewhere, far away, Jason and Emma stood in front of something ancient, something powerful, something waiting. And for the first time in history, humanity did not raise a weapon. They raised a hand and said, "Hello."